Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. It is just such an honor to be up here with you both. And I wanted to just start with this. Doug, tell me what went through your mind when you joined the Bucs, and what did you think you could bring to the team at that era?
Well, I came here in 1978, some 47 years ago. It's hard to even imagine. And my whole motto was to win, because I went to school at Grambling State University, and that's what we did. So I didn't know anything else. So coming here to the team, and I knew they was 0-26, but that didn't bother me, because at the end of the day, you still had to play football. And being a part of the team and meeting the guys that was on the team and going to camp and things like that, I thought we had a chance. And, luckily we did have a chance until, believe it or not, I broke my jaw like around about the 6 or 7 games that year, and missed about 6, 7 games, didn't get a chance to play, but came in the last 2 games and played with my jaw wide shut. But we was able to win 5 games that year.
Wow, that's incredible. And Jimmie, for you, what did you see change as you watched from that 78 to 79 season? What did it feel like inside the locker room as those changes were happening?
Well, one of the biggest changes that we were able to come together as a team, most people don't remember, we lost, I think, about 6 or 7 games by 6 points or less. So we were already in the process of setting the stage to become winners. So when Richard Wood brought that boombox in training camp in 1979, and our motto was, "Ain't no stopping us now." And we knew from then that we were going to win. We had the pieces. I came from a winning program. Doug came from a winning program. And we were here to win. We didn't have any inclination of being part of the 2-20, whatever it was. It wasn't in our mind. We were here to win and win for the fans. And that's what I loved about this. It didn't matter how many games they had lost in the past, the fans were always here, and we loved it.
Awesome. And Doug, why do you think 79 was the year that did it? What was the turnaround? What caused that? And just especially what led to the huge winning streak at the start of the season?
I think it's the players' mentality. Winning is Bree's mentality. You got to feel like you can win, you will win. And I thought we had a bunch of guys in that locker room that felt that way. Especially the defense that we had with Leroy and Dewey and the linebackers, Cesar Johnson, David Lewis, and Batman, and the secondary that we had, man. And we just felt like if we keep it close, we'll find a way to win it. That's one thing John McKay used to always tell us when we was in meetings, say, if y'all keep it close, we'll find a way to win it. And we feel like that's the way it should be, and that's the way it was.
Yeah, and Jimmie, what do you remember about when Doug came, and why do you feel like, from your position, getting to watch him, why was he the guy to lead this turnaround?
Well, Doug Williams was part of, it was quite funny because Doug Williams gave me the instrumental, and he was instrumental in me playing professional football. I didn't go out for football until I was a senior in college. And Doug Williams' team, Grambling State University, and my team, Alcorn State University, we were the first college team to play in the Louisiana Superdome. I'm not going to say how bad they beat us that day, but we were part of history. So I knew that he was a true winner. And ironically, coming from Houston, I was traded for the #1 pick in the draft. They chose Doug Williams. The first person that I called on the telephone was Doug Williams. I said, let's go make these guys a winner, because we know what we can do, and that's what we did.
Yeah, you decided it'd be a little more fun to play with him than against him after that college game. I think that's a good move.
But ironically enough, they used to say he threw too hard, but I wanted him to throw it to me every time. But he
threw just right.
As
long as it went to you, it was just right, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. So Doug, tell me what it was like to have Jimmie as a weapon, and what role he played in that 1979 success.
When I first got here, I had to look over the whole team, and Jimmie came in, and you realize right then the type of athlete he was. When I look at Jimmie and I think about the NFL now, and you think about guys that are in the Hall of Fame, Jimmy Giles is a Hall of Fame tight end from my standpoint, because what Jimmie could do, what the tight ends don't do today, basically, Jimmie could get you to the edge, and he could block down on that power play. but he can go deep and he can outrun the defensive back. So Jimmie had it all from a tight end standpoint. So I was fortunate enough to have a guy like Jimmie, like John Gruden and I, we was talking earlier. First down, it might have been pitch right and pitch left. It might have been a blast up the middle on third down. You had to find a way to make a first down. And I can remember coming to the line, no matter what the play was called, I used to look at Jim and I just say, homeboy. And he understood what I was talking about, get open, find a way to get open. And so Jimmie Giles was big.
That's incredible. I love that. And so, Jimmie, it's one thing to say, you guys have both talked about just the mentality the team had, but it's one thing to say that. How did you guys really manage to make that shift from a culture standpoint and a mindset standpoint? Because it would have been easy for a team to just kind of stay in that losing pattern. How do you break out of that, and what do you remember about who really helped with that from a locker room standpoint?
Well, I think Doug, without a doubt, was instrumental in that, because all the guys that Coach McKay recruited and brought in were winners. You had Ricky Bell, who came from USC, David Lewis, who came from USC, Richard Batman Woods, who was the first three-time All-American at linebacker at USC. You had players that were winners on defense. You had Leroy Selman at Oklahoma. You had Dewey Selman. These guys were winners. They were not interested in losing. I think the losing aspect of it was partly because of the fact that when they did the merging, each team had to give up certain players. And obviously there was no continuity in what they did, so they gave everybody the worst players on their team, which contributed to having the worst team in the NFL history as an expansion franchise. But Coach McKay in his third year, which he predicted, that he would bring a winner in, and he did it.
That's awesome. I love that. And, thinking about the idea of not just the mindset shift of the team, but of the city and the fan base, Doug, what do you remember about the moment of when you could feel the city being behind you guys, believing in you guys, and what that felt like from a player's standpoint?
I tell you, it wasn't a better feeling in the world than being in the old sombrero, being in Tampa Stadium. And, with the same energy that they have now at Raymond James, that's the same energy that they had back then. And running on that field, man, as a player, and knowing that you had the fans behind you, it was one of those situations that you had to win. You got to find a way to win. I think we believed in ourselves, and that's basically what happened.
I love that. And Jimmie, for you, do you feel like there was a moment that you remember, okay, so now the city kind of feels like it's behind you. You guys went from feeling like underdogs. When did you stop feeling like underdogs and that suddenly you were the team to beat, or you were the team to be chased? Was there a certain moment that you felt a shift maybe in even how other teams approached you?
Well, actually, we felt that way going into training camp, because you got to remember, we had the #1 defense. And Doug and I and Ricky Bell, along with Isaac Hayden and Gordon Jones, we used to tear that defense up in practice. So we knew what we could do, but we knew that our defense could stop guys. And as Doug had mentioned earlier, they just tell us to keep it close, and they can win it. But the best thing about our team, we had a guy by the name of Steve Wilson. He said there's no better guy to have and be 1 touchdown or 2 touchdowns for that matter behind me is Doug Williams, because we know we can win. Having that confidence thank you. Having that confidence from an offensive lineman, that's pretty big.
That is
pretty big.
Yeah, and I mean, like Jimmie mentioned, that defense is pretty good. Now I notice there's nobody up here on stage to defend whether or not you were actually winning all those battles in training camp, but that's all right. We'll assume you're correct. So, Doug, what do you remember about going against them in practice and the ways that maybe having such a good defense helped prepare you guys for that season?
I think we all know, any players out there who play defense and offense know that defense is going to always be ahead of offense most of the time, especially in practice, because they know everything you're going to do. So we had those battles, but at the end of the day, on Sundays, we wasn't playing against them. We was playing against the other team that didn't know what was coming. But it was fun just watching Dewey Selman and Leroy coming off the edge. Let me say something. I say this all the time. Leroy was a great football player. It's unfortunate that he played in a 3-man line, because they were playing 4-man line, he was been barred from the football league, because Leroy could play. But no, we had fun going against them, because the confidence that they had, as far as winning game, it made practice that much more fun.
I like that. That's a lot of fun. And I mean, man, we talked about this idea of overcoming the losing streak that was prior to this year, but then during this season, there was another area you had to overcome where there's this 3-game losing streak when you're right there ready to clinch a playoff spot. Jimmie, what was being said in the locker room? What was that like in that moment of, man, y'all are just right there, you just need one game, and how to make sure you didn't let that turn into a skid that you couldn't get out of going into the playoffs?
The one thing that we had going for us, I think the fans believed in us, but more importantly, I think Ed made mention of it earlier, was our family. Our family kept telling us we can do it. Just keep the faith and keep confidence in yourself. And that's what we did. Although we lost those 3 games, we had no doubt that we were going to win because we wanted to end that streak of people saying that the Buccaneers were losers. And we came to the Kansas City game with that in mind, and we were not going to go home without winning. And we appreciate the fans for being there.
Yeah. Now, Doug, man, I loved watching on that clip just what it looked like playing in the rain that day. I mean, that looked like out at recess, like that didn't look like a real game almost. Tell me, first of all, like we are trying so hard to clinch this spot. You see what the weather's doing. You see that field condition. What is that like? And then what was it like to actually try to play in what looked like just a true monsoon?
That was the worst condition any quarterback in America playing. I don't think there's a quarterback that play in the league today would like playing in those conditions. It was, first of all, you got to get the snap from the center, so it's not easy. You can put your hands together, but that ball is so slippery, it's going to get at you. You got to almost hug him, so you're not going to get away from him. But the thing that we had opportunity. If you notice Jerry Eckwood running down the sideline, he was off to the race, and the ball just came out of his hand. I threw a pass. I think Jimmie stopped running on that pass. But anyway, I threw an interception. I threw an interception to the right. The ball come out your hand. You don't know how it's going to come out. Things like that happen in that kind of weather. We was fortunate enough to have great defense and play on our end of the field, and we got a chance, Neil Donahue, to make that field goal.
I just wanted to play in the rain, man. That's what
I was like, any throws of his you'd like to discuss from 40 years ago, since
he's going to say that.
Yeah, there we go. I love it. And so, man, okay, now, so you've played in this insane condition. You've finally clinched after this streak. Tell me, Jimmie, what was the locker room like after that game? I mean, it had to almost be like a Super Bowl celebration, I imagine.
I mean, the film gave us a good glimpse of what it was like, but the emotions were so high, you could not imagine how we felt. It was like the weight of the entire world was off your shoulders because we did it, and I honestly mean this, guys, we did it for the fans. These guys were there. That stadium was full every game. We did it for the fans. We did it for our families. And I know we did it for ourselves because I'm not a loser, had never been a loser. Doug is not, and most of the guys on our team were not losers, did not come from losing programs, and we wanted to end it right there. And that's what we did.
That's amazing. And now I'd love to hear from both of you guys. What are you most proud of what that team accomplished that year? As you look back, as you're watching these clips, and Doug, I'll let you go first, of just what stands out, of just that kind of makes you swell with pride.
Well, the thing about it, from which we come, number one, when I had gotten here in 1978, and within 2 years, we was in the championship game. I think it said a lot about not me, but the team as a whole. Because, we take a team to get it done, and the way the guys looked at it and the way they felt, like I say, during that losing streak, nobody ever gave up, nobody ever had any doubt, and we found a way to do it. So to me, that was the most encouraging, and for me to just be a part of that, to watch them and myself be a part of it, that was a great feeling.
I love it. And Jimmie, what about you?
Well, the biggest thing was we stopped the losing. People could not call us losers anymore. We had one of the best defenses. Coach Wayne Fonts would always put together a great defense. We had great offense. The unfortunate thing about it, we got players hurt the following year. But the best part about it is that we started the winning program here in Tampa Bay.
Amazing. And how about a favorite memory from the season? What is something that stands out to you? Doug, I'll let you start.
Well, for me, it would have to be the playoff game against Philadelphia, because nobody in the National Football League, and I guess in the country, other than our fans, gave us a chance to win. And we was fortunate enough that week, we felt like we was going to win the football game. I don't know if you remember when Jane Kennedy was on doing TV during that time. I remember when she told me, she said, I'll make a bet. If you all win this game, I come cook dinner for you. So the first time I ever ate broccoli and cheese, Jane Kennedy cooked it. So that's exactly what happened.
Was it life-changing? Is that why this is your favorite memory?
Eating broccoli and cheese.
I knew it. We got to the heart of that memory, I can really tell. How about Jimmie, how about you?
Well, for me, it was the first time Doug threw me 2 touchdown passes.
Ooh. That's a good memory.
I was always open.
Is this news to you, Doug, that he was always open?
Hey, I've heard it before.
Yeah. I had a feeling. And then we'll kind of close with this for you guys. Just tell me what it's like to now be here, getting to watch the celebration of 50 years of Bucs football, to see that you guys are such a huge part of it, to hear even now, all these years later, the fan reaction, being in this theater and just watching things like the documentary or the top 50 players, all the different countdowns and ways we've been celebrating. What has stood out to each of you of what that's been like for you to witness and the emotions with that? And Jimmie, I'll start with you.
Well, for me, it's the relationships and the memories and the brothers that I made for life. And Doug has been a friend since we made that first phone call. We talk to each other every week. The other part for me is a personal thing. My wife and I will be celebrating our 50th year this year. So she was part of making sure that I did the right thing every week, came home every night, and stayed healthy.
I like it. Does she know that you were always open? Does she know?
Oh, of course she does.
Of course she knows. This is why y'all stayed married for so long. She knew you were always open. I had a feeling. All right, Doug, how about you?
Well, for me, after 47 years and almost 50, just to be on this stage, number one. I know when I left here, it was under some certain circumstances, and, I probably didn't always feel that way, but I think when Bruce Allen and John Gruden came back, I got a whole renewed feeling about what Tampa Bay was all about. And since that time, I felt really good about Tampa Bay, and plus, your head coach and I played with me in Washington, but I also gave him his first coaching job, so I feel pretty good.
I like that. That's great. Well, can we thank our panel for spending some time with us tonight here?